Welcome to the Podkey summary of Deliver Workout Insights with HealthKit Workout Zones from WWDC 2026. Apple's putting workout zones much deeper into HealthKit with iOS 27 and watchOS 27. And it's one of those changes that makes a lot of fitness apps simpler and a lot more consistent at the same time. The big idea is that heart rate and cycling power zones are now built in, personalized, available during a live workout, and easier to reuse across devices, apps, and even messy multi-sport sessions. For developers, it cuts out a bunch of custom plumbing. For users, it means your Zone 3 hopefully starts meaning the same thing everywhere you look. Before this, if an app wanted zone-based coaching or post-workout analysis, it usually had to take raw samples and do its own math on top. Now HealthKit can do that translation directly. A heart rate sample like 135 beats per minute can come back as a labeled intensity tier, like Zone 3, and the same goes for cycling power zones. That matters because zones are the layer people actually understand during training. Most runners and cyclists are not staring at a stream of raw numbers thinking, yes, this sparks joy. So this gives apps a clean way to build summaries, live prompts, and visualizations without each one inventing a slightly different interpretation of the same workout. The preferred zone setup is personalized using the user's age and resting heart rate, and the system keeps recalculating those thresholds over time as those inputs change. That's a pretty practical choice because fitness changes, resting heart rate changes, and a training setup that made sense 6 months ago might not fit now. Users can also override the automatic values in health settings, which is important if they already train by a coach's numbers or just know they want different boundaries. And once they do that, those preferred zones sync through HealthKit, so apps and devices can all reference the same setup instead of becoming little isolated islands of cardio opinion. During a live workout, HealthKit evaluates each incoming heart rate sample, and when that sample crosses a zone boundary, it triggers a Did Update Workout Zone callback on the HK Live Workout Builder delegate. That callback includes the old zone, the new zone, the full zone configuration, cumulative time in zone, and a timestamp. So an app can react right away. It can highlight that the user just moved into a new zone, buzz them if they've drifted above a target range, or confirm they're finally doing the easy run. Easy. That last one might be the hardest feature to build emotionally, but technically this makes it straightforward. There are really two flavors here: preferred zones and custom zones. Preferred zones come from the system-calculated setup or from the user's own health settings override, and they're shared automatically across apps. That's the consistency story. Custom zones are there for apps with a different training model. An app can provide its own threshold array, with anywhere from 3 to 9 zones. But those custom configurations only exist for that workout session. If the app wants to keep them around, it has to persist them itself. So Apple's giving developers flexibility, but also drawing a line between the user's shared preferred setup and an app-specific coaching system. One really useful warning in all this is about normalization. Different training platforms may use 5, 6, 7, or 8 power zones, which means Zone 3 in one app might represent a completely different watt range than Zone 3 somewhere else. So if you're aggregating time in zone across multiple workouts, you can't just compare the labels and call it a day. Developers need to rebucket raw samples using the specific zone boundaries that were used for each workout, and then roll up the totals from there. That's the only way those comparisons mean anything. Otherwise, you get nice-looking charts built on a shaky premise, which is a very modern problem. This also helps a lot with multi-sport workouts. Both HK Workout and HK Workout Activity expose a zone groups by type dictionary, so an app can show zone data for the whole session or break it out by each sport segment. If somebody does a run-bike-run triathlon, the app can show separate heart rate zone charts for each leg without manually stitching the data together. That's a small sentence and a big quality of life improvement, especially for apps that want to do serious post-race analysis without turning every triathlon into a custom data rescue mission. After the workout, the HK Workout Zone Group object gives developers two especially useful pieces: the configuration, which lists zone boundaries and where they came from, and an ordered array of zone durations. That duration array is exactly what you'd want for a time in zone bar chart or any effort distribution view. And because the zones are guaranteed to be contiguous and non-overlapping, apps can trust that array to represent the full spread of effort cleanly across intensity levels. That kind of guarantee sounds boring until you've had to debug analytics built on overlapping buckets, and then suddenly it sounds beautiful. So overall, this is one of those platform updates that feels very practical. Less duplicate logic, more consistency, and better live and post-workout experiences. If you build fitness apps, there's a lot here to use. If you just use them, there's a decent chance your next zone chart will quietly make a lot more sense. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.